government will allow for water to be turned off where there are women and children. It's just unconscionable.
If water is a human right, I mean, I'm fine with that. If someone can show me a way to provide the service where it's free.
The level of shutoffs has increased tremendously, while at the same time the rate has gone up.
The Great Lakes are home to 1/5 of the world's fresh water. So why are so many people without water service in Detroit?
All right, it's time to let it rip. The Detroit Water Department says it's simple. Too many customers simply aren't paying their bill.
But activists claim that shutting off water because they can't afford to pay is a violation of human rights, and they're taking their fight all the way to the United Nations. Meeko Williams is one of them. He's with a coalition called the Detroit Water Brigade.
And next to him, Darryl Lattimer, the Deputy Director of the Water Department. Meeko, let's start with you. Why is this a United Nations issue?
It's a United Nations issue because shutting off water is inhumane. It's also a violation of human rights. The UN and the U.S. signed a treaty in 2002 that water is a basic human right. It is a human right to live. The United States signed a treaty with the United Nations all over the world in 2002 that water is a basic human right and it should be held affordable for all of the customers and everyone in the
Just so I understand, you're saying that people that don't pay should get free water.
I'm saying that people that has the ability, they should have, like, first of all, this is not a coordinated effort. This is only an effort to shut off the poor, to attack seniors, to attack children. This whole situation is not benefiting the greater good of the city of Detroit or those that are involved in the situation. What I've been calling for is a community meeting to address the situation so that people can come in a centralized location to pay their bills and to settle their situations. I don't think that we should shut off water for anyone here in the city of Detroit.
Mr. Lattimer, you say there's a lot of misconceptions since this has gone out, but the one thing that we do know at this point is you guys sent out 4,500 water shutoff notices, and the next day 2,500 people ended up paying their water bill.
That's correct. I mean, what we're finding is that when we shut off water, the majority of our customers come in within 24 hours and pay. And we're sending our crews right back out to turn on water. When we send out a delinquent notice or a shut-off notice, it doesn't distinguish anyone's economic circumstances. So we don't know what your economic circumstances are. But what we know is the majority of our customers have the ability to pay. Those customers that are having affordability issues should come to the department so that we can identify you and provide you some assistance. If there's thousands or so folks that are without water because they can't afford to pay, please send them to the department. We want to help them, but at the same time, we have to be responsible.
But isn't that a waste of money, time, and resources to cut off people's water, and then to send, when they do come in and pay and settle the situation, then you send the crews back out 48 hours to turn the water back on, instead of having a community meeting to address these issues so that no one's water will be shut off.
Jimmy, how does a community meeting pay for water? I mean, there's an infrastructure of how to get that water
in to settle their water situation. He's saying that he wants to put people on payment plans. He wants to work out, instead of calling down to the water department, which you can't get no service, you can't get no help there because they don't have the programs. Why not bring people to a centralized location to pay for their, I mean, if they have water, if they have money, I'm sure they're going to pay it. No one wants to lose their kids. No one wants to lose their homes.
Meeko, hold on. Let me get Mr. Lattimer. Congressman Conyers just wrote a letter here. He's actually asking for the United States Treasury about $200 million from the hardest hit fund. How do you respond to Congressman Conyers' letter that basically said cutting off water is a threat to public health?
Well, I'll respond to it this way. If he's able to get federal dollars that can assist customers that are having affordability issues, we welcome that. But what we've experienced is when you come in our customer service center, you see a lot of Detroiters that you will recognize that have had their water shut off, and we know that they're not having affordability issues. So we're trying to distinguish between those customers that can pay but refuse to pay, and those customers that are having affordability issues.
And the ones that cannot pay, what do you do with those customers?
We're referring them to programs that will assist them. We're also putting them on payment plans. We're working with them to keep their service on with what they can afford.
So are you saying basically that the majority of Detroiters are just not paying their bills because they think they can get away with it?
That's not true.
It's
That's not
because
true.
the lack of enforcement.
That's not
and
true.
part of that has been the department's fault. We've always shut off water every year, but we haven't kept up
But
with the number of
this year,
deliveries.
we have to say, though, the rates have been, you're raising the rates as well, 8.7%. I mean, that might be pretty extreme at this point for some people to be able to afford that, especially in the Detroit area where, people are suffering in terms of the economy.
And I'll tell you, Tara, this is what has occurred. We've decreased our operating expense about 0.5%. Yet water rates are going up for the city of Detroit because of the bad debt associated with city of Detroit. We had to add another $42 million for bad debt for the city of Detroit.
It's not because the city also has let water run in abandoned houses, though.
And then I'll go back to that point. That's a good point. And the point is, abandoned house just doesn't appear out of nowhere. It starts with someone not paying their mortgage or paying their taxes, and they're not paying their water bill. And if we are aggressive with shutting that off, they walk away from the home and the water is just running.
But the bad debt is associated with the corporations and the business entities in the city of Detroit that are not paying their bills, like Mike Ilitch. He just said that normal Detroiters are in there. I don't see Mike Ilitch in the line. I don't see people that owe these exorbitant amount of fees, like the Palmer Park Golf Course, that owes $430,000. And right now, that's owned by the city of Detroit. We're in bankruptcy court. So guess what? How much do you anticipate on that debt? How much do you anticipate to receive on those big commercial properties like Ford Field, Comerica Park? And this man just said he cut off churches the other day. So there's people outside today that
cut off Detroit Public Schools the other day. But let me ask you this though: would you be happy if you cut off Ilitch and Joe Louis Arena and Eastern Market?
Nobody
and
should be having their water shut off. Let's have a community meeting so that we can discuss people's different situations. Let's have a community meeting so that we can bring people here to a centralized location.
Here's
What kind of meeting are you going to have? 90,000 people.
90,000 people.
The
water department wants to aggressively collect the debt. Well, let's have a public forum. Let's have a community meeting. Let's have their employees hold the thing from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Now, you're telling me that poor people and seniors should pay the burden of the banks and the corporations that owe this 80% of the chunk of debt.
I think that's a little different what you're saying. You're saying people who can't pay, that's a different story. But if you can afford to, you better pay your water bill.
Exactly.
You're not going to cut off Comerica Park
We
before
spend a lot of time going after the commercial customers. We inked a settlement with Chrysler for $2.9 million. We just received checks from the city totaling about $3.5 million. So we've been going after those.
Where's the proof of documentation?
Are you turning off their water? Are you turning off
in
their
a lot
water?
of cases, some of these entities don't have water. Their issue is we're charging them for stormwater drainage. So in a lot of cases, they don't have water services, but there's another service that we provide to them, and we're going after and making settlements about those types of things.
They have a situation where someone in Detroit would qualify for free water. I just lost my job. I have 5 kids. I can't work. I'm disabled, etc. I don't have the money, and I've got 5 kids and a disabled mother I'm taking care of. Now what?
They will qualify for assistance. They will
From where?
There's a number of programs. There's the WAVE Fund, which just had a
The WAVE
benefit
program
last
doesn't even have
Friday.
money.
Just had a benefit Friday night. There's
That was a
also
PR stunt.
Human Services. There's also Wayne Metro, and DWSD's assistance program will gear up July 7th.
But even if the organizations that could help people pay they're not suited enough to pay for 90,000 Detroiters. They can't handle that type of capacity. So what we're calling for is the water affordability plan to be reinstated that the city council passed in 2005 that would make people's water bills affordable. So if you're low income, if you're a senior, if you're having trouble with your water bills, that means that the water affordability plan will put you on a rate that's probably like $50 or so that can work with you so you don't get shut off. They should do the same thing with all the utilities in the city of Detroit. I'm not understanding, Mr. Lattimer. Why are you telling me that people that cannot pay, you're shutting them off, but you're not going after Mike Ilitch, you're not shutting off Comerica Park, Ford Field, Joe Louis Arena, you're not shutting off those type of people. You're treating corporations different than
You have 30 seconds left.
Listen, I want to operate off facts. The facts are
you're not shutting them off.
those commercial customers are paying. We're not having a problem with those commercial customers. Our biggest problem is with our residential customers.
Can I just so I'm clear, the only water that you're shutting off are the people that you determine can pay but are not. Am I correct?
No, we're shutting off water for anyone that's 60 days past due with a bill greater than $150.
Whether they can pay or not.
Whether they can pay or
So
not.
because through attention.
Exactly, because we don't know who has the ability.
So are you going to defy the UN order that you are to provide a service that is affordable for all of its customers? Are you going to defy the UN by denying people the basic right of water? But I don't think he understands the real situation here.
I think we do. We're going to have to cut this off, unfortunately, because we have to move on. But I think this still has a lot more. They've been shutting off for years. Of course, a lot of people worried about the conditions that
And we've been out there protesting and bringing action
But
for
we
years.
appreciate you coming on here, explaining the city's point of view, clearing up some misconceptions. And thank you to Meeko for
The city and the water department are different, though, right? They are different, actually.
No, we're a department of the city of Detroit.
Yes. All right. Well, coming up, a former police officer says...
Is your computer